Yeah, here you go.
Chicka.
Yeah.
Kill Bill and Rev. We don't suck.
Hey, I got that guap in my pocket. Got a sock full of crack. I sell crack to people for monetary value.
Yes. Welcome back to the We Don't Suck podcast, episode 44.
Dude, what does 44 mean to you?
Well, 4 is my favorite number. 44 is like 2 of my favorite numbers in one, you know?
So they cancel out?
Yes. And also because it's your age, it has that like further, deeper significance to me.
Yeah.
That I appreciate it for.
Finally, people know how old I am. I'm 44. It feels good, dude.
It does. Right.
I'm 44. You're 15. You know?
No, it's not strange at all. Yeah, for sure. Also, it's crazy how we're really like creeping up on that 100 mark. It's been a year since we've had the episode. Actually, at the time of us recording this, it has been a year and a day since we've launched the channel, I believe.
Damn, bitch.
So that's kind of crazy, man. You know, we live like this.
Yeah, it is pretty crazy. It feels like it's been both not a long amount of time and also a very long time at the same time, somehow.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It seems like we've been doing this forever on one hand, right? And on the other is just, it doesn't seem like we started that long ago either. I feel you on that. And also today's
1992 was the year.
Today marks a very special like occasion for us as well. I mean, this is going to be released a week from now, but we finally officially got confirmation from YouTube that we've qualified for monetization. So
Ooh, yeah.
it took us a year to get monetized. And the interesting thing is we were allowed to apply the first week because we qualified in there's like for those that don't know, YouTube's current system works in a way where you have to have something like at least 4,000 or 40,000 minutes of play in the last 12 months and at least 1,000 subscribers before you can even apply for monetization. And so we already qualified the first week, and so we applied the first week, and it took us about a month before, I think it took about a month before we heard back from YouTube, and they rejected us. They hated us, and they're like, you'll never get monetized.
They said we were ugly. We were too ugly to monetize. And I said, go off, sis.
That they did say that. They said all of those things, and it hurt our feelings, but we were like, okay. And we moved on. And so now they finally monetized us. In all fairness,
it feels so good. Damn, it feels good to be a gangster.
It does. And it's been our second time applying for it, right? So a couple of days ago, just out of just to see like, oh, what could possibly go wrong if I tried to apply for monetization again. And they got back to us within like 2 days saying, yep, you're monetized now. You're now YouTube partners. So that means
you're now YouTubers, boys.
Absolutely.
And they slapped us on the ass and sent us on our merry way.
And, you know, I'm going to just jump ahead of all the questions that people are going to ask us. Yes, we're selling out. Absolutely, all of the content is going to change drastically on this channel. Take it away, Bill.
Yeah, I think to keep true to our selling out roots, we're gonna just I've been thinking about just like fucking doing like a fucking
Bill is having a stroke.
See, this is what selling out does to us. So we're all very excited.
That wasn't me just having a stroke on air. It's
no.
fine.
So, I mean, obviously, it goes without saying nothing changes at all. And just having had a quick look.
Yeah, but there's going to be a few changes.
There's going to be a few changes.
There's going to be a few, like, little minor things, you know, like, I just wanted to just give a shout out real quick. Barbasol, you know, I use it every day on my armpits. And it just really cuts through that hair, that really thick hair on my armpits. So go buy Barbasol. But nothing's gonna change, you know, other than the fact that this is now a Barbasol related channel.
Right. Yeah.
By the way, I told you I signed the deal with Barbasol. Did I tell you that?
No, but I'm just gonna roll with it.
Yeah. No, they hit me up and they were just like, yeah, dude, like we'll give you a couple like $5, $6, $7, $8, and now your channel's owned by Barbasol.
That's pretty good. Yeah. I'm glad you didn't consult me.
I think it's a pretty fair trade.
Yeah. Sometimes you just gotta.
By the way, all that stuff you're talking about, monetized stuff, like that's actually going to them now, like Barbasol.
Nice. This is cool. This is all really cool, and developments like this is what really keeps me up at night. It keeps me in the shower.
I didn't want to just sign, but then I thought about it and I was like, maybe they'll change their mind in the 5 minutes it takes for me to like run that by you.
Right,
so I just went ahead and just ran that by.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Myself, you know?
Yeah, no, sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
I think you would understand.
Yeah.
So what's been up with you, man? Tell me everything. Tell me everything in 1 word or less.
Stuff.
Good, man. Good. Yeah, I've been sick the past few days. I don't know if you can hear it in my voice. I'm a little stopped up.
Yeah.
I sound like a sick son of a bitch.
Sound like shit.
You know? Well, you know, I
like it.
You're not wrong.
I love it.
Yeah. So that and my car broke down. So that's been sick. So I've been whipping a Kia.
Hey, you want to break that down for us?
Yeah. No,
Dude, don't break down.
I've rented a Kia until it's fixed. So that's what I'm doing. It's weird though, man. Like I'm a big guy, you know, and I never thought I would like being in like a small car, but I kind of like the Kia. It's nice.
That's nice. That's good to hear. Yeah. I'm happy to hear that. And sometimes change is good. So maybe this is going to like influence the way that you look at cars going forward, or at least, you know, your personal experience with cars. And maybe you'll decide to switch over to Japanese cars.
Yeah. I mean, for those who don't know, I mean, I whipped a Jeep for a little while there. And I mean, I still do as long as I get it fixed. Apparently, it's pretty bad though. They said that it's like a pretty bad motor issue. So I have to make some decisions as of whether I'm going to fix that or purchase a different car instead.
Just to give people a bit of like background information, context. So Bill the other day, you know, because he has like just barrels of KY jelly, he was convinced that he could use that as fuel because on the back it says it contains petroleum, right? It's petroleum jelly. And so he thought petroleum, petrol, this is what's going to get my car going. And he just covered the whole thing with it. Inside, outside, everything. It kind of went all out. And yeah, let's hope they managed to fix that bad boy.
Yeah, I'm hoping so. I mean, they said that gas tank was really full of petroleum. Well, not even petroleum, just straight up KY jelly. And it was not good. They said it was not good. I also did this thing. I purchased some marijuana from a man. And he said that gas. And so I kind of ground up some of that and put that in there too. And
nice,
because like, you know, gas is expensive, man, you know, it's expensive and it's bad for the environment and shit. And so, you know, I thought I was doing what the Green Party would want me to do.
Understandable.
I did what I had to do. Now, you know, my car engine is like destroyed.
It is what it is.
But, you know, I think it's worth it. At the end of the day, my carbon footprint for my Jeep has been slightly lower.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. That's absolutely the truth.
I'm doing God's work. Can you just pat me on the back real quick? I'm patting myself on the back.
Dude, good shit. Good job.
Oh, that's good. Oh, it feels so good.
Yeah, so for me, it's been also kind of like a mixed week, you know. I'll say, you know, there's personal stuff here and there and lots of work of just editing. What we're going to do eventually is we're probably going to get an editor. But at the moment, it's been a little bit overwhelming trying to ensure that we have daily content and at the same time trying to do the music stuff. And at the same time, I live with my fiance and trying to have a personal life and make plans and stuff like that. It's a bit tough. So that's kind of the regular stress though, right? And then I was also trying to sell a camera bundle. I had a camera, a bunch of lenses and other shit. And I was selling it online for $2,500. It was my first time. I think selling it on eBay in a way where it wasn't like, oh, you have to come and pick it up. And I got rused pretty much, and it was like a long process. I don't want to really go into it too much, but there was a lot of back and forth between me and the delivery service before the parcel made its way to the fraudulent buyer. I was, the police is involved in everything, and it's still not entirely resolved, but for all intents and purposes, it seems that I've kind of lost that. So I took an L, a big L this week. That didn't really help me.
Yeah, I love that camera too. That shit sucks.
Yeah, man. It is what it is, though. You gotta move on, keep on trucking. But that hurt. That sucked, man.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you just got a new camera though, didn't you?
I did, and that's why I took a really big L, because I was hoping that, okay, I can get this camera. It's a bit cheaper, but it's nice, and it suits me better for all the kind of purposes I intend to use it for. And so I went ahead and bought it, thinking that like, oh, okay, well, I'm gonna get money out of selling the other bundle and everything that I've had for years, and actually make a little bit of money on the side, right? Instead, I lost that and purchased a camera, and so overall took a financial L and felt kind of upset, to be honest. And it is what it is, though.
I mean, yeah, that's understandable. But I mean, at the end of the day, the world hasn't ended. You got a camera. You're you're a financial destitute. You're homeless. Everyone hates you, but it's okay because you got a camera.
When you put it that way, it sure makes me feel better.
I know. That's my job, dude. That's my job. Let me fix my mic stand. Hold on. It keeps falling down on me for some reason.
Oh, she wants to go down on you, bro.
I'm going to leave all this sound in here, me doing this.
No, please.
Perfect. Perfect.
Perfect.
We fixed it, guys. Guys, technical difficulty averted. Crisis averted. Crises. The dogs are barking. Everything's just falling apart.
Bill, I wanted
My wife left me for a man named Esteban.
Bill, I wanted to talk to you.
The same goddamn tape top every day.
Bill, I wanted to...
I'm sorry, what?
Nothing.
You sounded so defeated.
Anyway, what's up, dude?
I want to talk about Mortal Kombat screams.
All right, let's do that.
Was that a good transition?
Yeah, dude, that was real nice and organic. I liked it.
Yeah.
Seamless.
So, if you ever played Mortal Kombat 3,
of course.
I just want to talk about the screams for a moment.
Let's do that. Yeah, sure.
So, one of my favorite things about Mortal Kombat screams are that like no one screams like people in Mortal Kombat, right? Like literally no one.
I guess.
I mean, maybe someone. My favorite thing ever is like how long they are, but then also they like overlap and they're the same sound over and over and over. Mm-hmm. You know? And so, like, if you're, like, fighting Sindel, like, okay, if you one scream, right, and it'll just be like, like, literally that MP3 file or whatever they used. I don't know if they had MP3s back then, right? But if you hit her with the old 1-2-1-2 combo, it would sound like,
yeah.
I just want to talk about that and get your opinion on it.
I mean, it's something that I've kind of, as someone who grew up playing Mortal Kombat quite a lot as a kid, it was one of my first favorite games. I've kind of adapted that in my real life. So when somebody punches me, I go, ooh. And if they keep punching me many times, if someone's jumping me, and I'm like, ooh, 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 and I interrupt myself. If someone punches me before I've done.
There was no like ooh sounds in Mortal Kombat. It was like you get hit and he was like, da, da, da. Like there was like no.
Perhaps that's what I should adapt.
Small impact sound.
I should adapt that in my real life. Anytime I stub my toe, I should definitely do that.
Like you bump into someone in like Walmart.
This is me at during like in Walmart on Black Friday.
You get hit like you're playing paintball and you get like really lit up
Yeah.
and just like like you like really just rapid fire, you know?
Yeah. And if somebody punches me twice, like from 2 different angles at the exact same moment, you bet your ass it's going to be 3 dBs louder.
Yeah, of course. And it has like a little bit of like phase effects, like a chorus effect
A little,
almost.
because it's not exactly at the same time. Yeah, almost. Fun fact, I mean, you probably know it, but just so you guys know, if you play 2 of the exact same sounds, regardless of what volume you're playing, provided the amplitude, I'm going to refer to it as volume, provided that you're playing it at both of those files at the same volume at the exact same time, whatever their initial volume is, if you play 2 files at the same time, they'll be 3 dB higher, regardless of what volume you're playing it at.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. There's like a whole bunch of stuff. Like back when I was DJing weddings and stuff, I actually got to witness this, like stuff like stereo phasing, which I still don't quite understand.
Oh, yeah.
Like, okay, one venue.
Oh, shit, someone's at the door. One moment.
You good? Yeah, while he's gone, man, Rav sure sucks. I don't fucking like that guy. He's ugly and his face is ugly. And God, I hate him. I hate him so much. I hope he gets hit by a bus. Hope he dies.
Hey, I'm back. How's it going, Bill?
Yeah, I'm glad, dude. I'm glad that you're back.
There's a thing I had to do.
There's a domestic terrorist at your door.
But it's okay now. It's been resolved. Go ahead. You were talking about stereo phasing?
Oh, yeah. So there's this room that it was like a venue that wasn't treated at all. And like most venues, like for weddings and stuff, they don't treat for sound in any kind of way because it's for weddings. Like they don't care. So like it was this one where it's like the way they had the speakers set up in there that like we would use, they insisted on us using the house speakers instead of hooking up our own. Mm-hmm. And when you play it, the dude that I was DJing with at the time was like, hey, come check this out. And he was like, I've DJ'd here before, go stand over there. And like, you can hear all the sound and stuff, but in this one specific spot in the whole place, it would be like the music would just go silent.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. It just cancels it out, yeah.
It's just because of the way the stereo phasing would work. It would just cancel each other out.
Yeah.
It's nuts, though. It's like walking in. It's like a complete night and day difference. It was crazy.
There's a lot of interesting stuff about sound that I think the average person isn't aware of. Like, just the logistics of playing a massive show and having the sound system set up. It's pretty complicated. And there's a lot of math involved. You map out the area and everything because sound is it doesn't travel very quickly. I mean, yeah, sure, the speed of sound, like, you can't run at the speed of sound, so it feels fast.
I can.
But it is pretty slow. I mean, you guys have probably witnessed it or experienced it many times, sort of seeing lightning strike and then hearing the thunder a bit later or a lot later, right? So, but you can observe this in other situations too, like at a show. If you're really far away, let's say it's Woodstock or Coachella or something, right? How you're experiencing the song right next to the stage and how you experience it being like really far away from the stage is very different. There's actually a delay. The music reaches you later. And there's systems in place for these shows that account for that and deal with that like in accordance with these delays and discrepancies in time. And it's kind of cool to think that, you know, it's thanks to our understanding of, you know, the physics of sound, so just, you know, waves, but also our application of mathematics, like combining those two things together can help us kind of have a better time enjoying a show that's just like music.
No, it's nuts. I mean, there's like a whole culture, especially with like the rise of like festivals, like, you know, EDM and rap festivals and shit, like because they're becoming so popular now. Mm-hmm. Like or not even just that, just any kind of festivals now. They've become so popular and such a mainstay of like how people tour and shit like that because there's so much money involved. Yeah. Like there's like a whole subset of like not just like I went to school for audio engineering and like part of that was live sound. Mm-hmm. And like we didn't even touch like outdoor stuff. And that's a whole,
because it's so complicated. Yeah,
it's so complicated. There's so many different things running into it. And it's like, not only that, I really feel for people who do live sound, because like you have to know both like the mathematics and the like, also just like having an ear for like what sounds good. And also you have to be proficient in like cables when things go wrong.
Yeah.
Like I even like learned how to like solder and stuff.
Yeah.
At that one class.
I see.
Because they were just like, oh, okay, well you could go out and buy cables over and over, or you can learn to fix them yourself so you don't go broke.
Yeah. That's cool.
Because like if you're doing it regularly, you go through them really fast. So that's like, it makes me nervous though. Like that whole thing, like, cause I never wanted to do live sound. It wasn't something it was just in the program that I took. And the whole time I was just like thinking like, this is like, it's like so many factors, like even down to like how the music that's being played is mixed. If you're doing a live band, like you're basically mixing on the fly, and also like worrying about all these other factors. It sounds like nerve wracking. Like shout out to people who do live sound.
Absolutely. Shout out. Well, I'd like to ask you some questions, given that you've had these experiences. My first question would be, what's the most valuable lesson, or perhaps lessons, that you've taken away from learning audio engineering for the brief time that you did?
I mean, honestly, like I went into it knowing a lot about it already, just because I had been making beats and like looking up YouTube tutorials for years. Like I've been making beats for like 5 years at that point, and I kind of had like a general idea of how things worked already. That being said, it was a cheap program, and I learned like 3 things that I use constantly. And I feel like that's like kind of invaluable. Like it's like 3 things that like I kind of knew, like I had a general idea of, but like it was like someone telling me a concrete, like this is how it's supposed to be done, like traditionally.
Do you mind going into it?
I mean, like the big things was like learning about mastering. That was like the biggest thing for me. And like learning how like clipping worked and like what clipping was. I always thought that clipping was just like literally bass distorting your shit distorting. But it's not even like necessarily distortion. What it is like a loss of audio, because like digital and analog like mixing is different. Like analog, you can go over 0 decibels by a little bit. It's a little bit more forgiving. But digital, like if you go over 0, you're actually losing audio. Like that sound is the sound of like frequency being lost, right? And I don't think that clipping is necessarily bad if you're using it as a creative choice.
You can use it to your advantage, yeah.
Yeah, I clip all the time. I love distortion, and distortion is just controlled clipping. That's all it is like compression, like, and bringing stuff up and then like making a hard limit on something to where it can't go over something, and clipping it within that limit, right?
Yeah, so that it sort of sounds like it's got that distortion, that loss, but it stays within the parameters.
How they described it is something that an analogy that I use a lot, is like when you're mastering or doing any kind of compression, but like especially mastering compression, because you're trying to make things louder and more full, right? And how they explained it was, okay, if you are putting like a limit on it at 0 decibels, imagine it like a can of soda. And before you put that compression on, it's just a can of soda. But then when you shake it up, all the shit in there like expands to the top, you know? And the point is to not open the can. Just keep shaking it until it's as full as you can get it without it like, it's called sausaging or like brick walling, you know? Like you don't want it to, that's something that you can't really like, I think you can't quantifiably measure. Like you can, like I'm sure there's like nerds out there that know how to do that, but me, it's kind of like an ear thing. It's like, okay, does it sound good? Like, I mean, I've looked at things that are like the waves look like sausages, but they sound good.
Yeah,
you know, I think it is kind of like a personal preference thing, especially the type of music you're doing. Like a lot of EDM, they brick wall it, they'll make it as loud as possible within 0 decibels. So
I feel like this could be a perfect segue into my next question. What is something that you took away from your experience where you completely were at odds with maybe your professor or professors, or you disagreed with the teachings, and you realizing that maybe you didn't agree, or maybe that they were wrong in your eyes, has actually helped you in on your path?
My biggest one was, it wasn't even necessarily that they were, I just think they had a misconception about some stuff, because I make beats, mix, and master in FL Studio, right? Mm-hmm. And they were all hardcore Pro Tools users there. And they used, they taught some production, and they used Reason to teach, which there's nothing wrong with Reason. Great program. Like, it has a really cool workflow to it. You know, I don't like it as much because of the sampling at the time. I think it's better now, but at the time it was a way harder to sample in it.
At the time, it wasn't a fully established DAW. So Propeller Head, which is the company that makes Reason, they made a whole range of various software. Reason was kind of the base DAW-like software, but for sampling they had Recycle, for recording they had Record, and since then I do believe now they have a full-fledged DAW where you can even, you know, use VSTs, which back then Reason did not support the use of VSTs, as you remember. So yeah, it was very limited, and honestly, I see it less valid.
Oh, just for people who are uninitiated, DAW or DAW means digital audio workstation. That's basically like your program that you're working within to make music or mix or master or whatever you're doing.
Oh, and dBs, when I was saying dBs earlier, that means decibels. Apologies for not.
Yeah, there's going to be a few instances here where I'm like talking about stuff and I'm sure people aren't going to know what like brick walling is, or you can Google it, like sausaging or like any of that kind of stuff. Like, it's like just terms for when you brick wall something is when you compress it to the point where it sounds too loud or like unnatural, you know. And they call it brick walling because you can look at the wave file and it'll look like a square instead of seeing all the dynamics. It takes all the dynamics out of it when you compress. And so the idea is to like find a middle ground, which makes you happy, of like, do I want more dynamics in this track? Do I, you know, like where I can hear the high and low and like mix, like hear the volume dips, you know? Do I want that, or do I want it to be louder and sacrifice those dynamics for the sake of it being louder? You know, that's a whole debate though. Like everyone has a different opinion on that. Yeah. I think it depends on the type of music you're making.
Yeah. But apologies for interrupting you. You were saying?
They taught us Pro Tools and Reason, and I don't like Pro Tools personally. I get why people do.
No, me neither.
I'm just not as into it. I don't think the workflow is very good for me, you know. But
same. Yeah, for the type of music we make.
There was two dudes there. There's a dude named Jay. I have tremendous respect for both of them. They were both really cool, big parts of my life. But there was a dude named Jay who, he was like a analog tape nerd. He was the guy who owned the whole thing. He had like a whole, like he had like a reel-to-reel setup and everything. And he was like, FL Studio is garbage. That was like a thing he told me from the beginning. He was like, FL Studio is garbage. Anything that's made in FL Studio is bad. Like, there's no that everything sounds tinny and just awful. And I remember hearing that, and like a lot of my favorite producers use FL to this day. So
Ninth Wonder.
Yeah, of course. I look at a lot of dudes who use FL. I think that he had an idea of what FL was based off of what people were bringing in, especially like rappers who like made their own beats and they didn't know what they were doing. Mm-hmm. And because FL is like so easily accessible for reasons that I'm not going to go into right now, I think that he had a idea of what FL was because people were coming in and bringing like these like really rudimentary beats that they had made. They didn't know what they were doing. And so he's the one who has to mix that. And it sounds, you know, a little bit ridiculous on that part. But then like I remember coming in and bringing a demo of something because we were supposed to like play music that we had like mixed. It was one of the old session tracks that I did. I can't remember which one it was, but I brought it in and he heard it and he was just like, oh yeah, nice. Like, I'm really glad you're like getting acquainted in Pro Tools. I was like, no, I actually did this in FL. And then he looked at me and he thought I was lying. Like, he was just like, did you even mix this? And like all this stuff. I was like, no.
Was that the one over the Figaro beat?
I think it was. I think it was that one.
So session 7 or 8.
It was one of the sessions. It might have been 9 actually. I don't know. But he was like, nah. And then like I remember he was like, well, you proved me wrong. It's good. It sounds good. You know, he was like, you did good, you know. And that was like towards the beginning.
Oh, that's nice.
Of our classes. And I think that he also thought, because he was getting me to do stuff in Pro Tools and I didn't know what I was doing. And I would show him mixes that I did in Pro Tools and he'd be like, yeah, that's like, I really don't like the way this sounds. But then I showed him in FL and then he was just like, oh, this is good, you know? And so I think I kind of proved him wrong in that sense, that it's like, it is maybe if you're just using the stock plugins that were available at the time, but I mean, I was using a lot of VSTs and I think your DAW is as good as its VSTs. You know, FL is just a blank slate. Basically, you can put anything in there, any kind of instrument, any kind of mixing plugins.
Think of it as like, think of your DAW as a smartphone and the VSTs as apps.
Yeah.
The smartphone has the capability of achieving all those things, but it sort of needs the apps to guide you to whatever that you are wishing to achieve. So the VSTs can definitely improve not only your experience of music making, production, or engineering, but can just, you know, help you accomplish certain things with greater ease and, you know, experiment with new stuff. And
there was another dude there, Fat Rat, who I actually produced some songs for him and his rap group, but he was there was two sections. It was the jam room, which was mostly rock stuff. They did a lot of metal bands, you know, but it was a full studio. But then they had like a vocal booth set up and it was called the Boom Room. And it was still owned by Jay, but Fat Rat was doing all the engineering, all the mixing, everything out of there, you know, and you could pick your engineer. You could pick who you were working with. There was a couple of different people. Like, I think Jay was kind of the go-to if you wanted that vintage, like rock sound, and he would do everything reel to reel on tape. It was a little more expensive, I think. But then like you could go to the Boom Room and record there, and I recorded some stuff there too, and it was a blast. I love all those guys, but yeah, Fat was really cool because he was the first dude that I knew that was like doing music full time, and also like, I mean, I guess his job was working at the studio, but he did music all the time. Like he would stay there till like 5 a.m. and he was really like super grindy. Like he was all about like, oh, let's grind, let's do this, let's do that, let's do this, and yeah, it was like kind of like cool to work with somebody like that, even if they were just like doing more, like the studio work was like more of their like income, you know. It was like somebody who was like really excited about their stuff all the time, right? Yeah, I remember bringing beats to him and they would like mix them down there, and it was like really cool, you know. And yeah, so shout out those guys. But yeah, all those dudes down there were like a dream to work with. But that was like the one thing that I think was like we were at odds with. Like I said, I still have like a huge amount of respect for Jay. Like I think his mixes are really good, and he was like, he taught me a lot of cool shit. But that was the one thing, was that he told me that FL sucked, and like I kind of proved him wrong. So
yeah. Did you ever encounter, well, okay, speaking from personal experience, almost a decade ago now, I mean, throughout my life, I've recorded in various studios. You know me, for my own music, I record in whatever environment I sort of make, whether it's my living room, bedroom. It's basically in my home, right? Right. But I have on occasion recorded with other people or for other people. And almost a decade ago, Sony hired me to do some stuff for them, which I did under a pseudonym. And I was working with their engineers and producers. And I just remember really not liking how their shit sounded compared to what I was trying to do. So, for instance, it was 2011. So I recorded Vicodin, and I recorded it in my own bedroom and recorded and mixed all of that within a single hour. And I was really happy with how it sounded. And when I played it for them at the studio, they also really liked it, and they're like, we should re-record it. We can make it sound even better. And so I remember re-recording it at their studio and them trying to put together a mix and then emailing it to me, and it sounding vastly inferior.
I remember that. Yeah, I do remember that. I think this is the thing that I've picked up on. What I've picked up on is a lot of times people who don't necessarily mix and master hip hop music try to treat rap vocals the same way as they would treat like pop vocals.
Yep. Very, very easy on the compression, which can sometimes, in my opinion, ruin a rap record. The compression is what makes it all sound tight, and like fit in a like a sonic pocket. And I think they were playing it by the book.
I mean, even at Midlands, they taught me that. They're like, if you're doing, I guess because Fat Rat was there and he did rap music all the time, and he did a whole thing on rap music. He was like, this is how I do it. He was like, I'm not saying this is the right way, because there's like a lot of other people there who didn't mix like this, but he was like, I do like a hard compression. He's just like, I'd rather it sound like my vocals sound like a little bit loss of fidelity, but people be able to hear everything that I'm saying. He's like, I think it sounds better. I mean, this is a dude who like came out listening to like Wu-Tang and shit.
Right.
You know? So it's like all that type of music, although it's like objectively kind of like mixed badly, I like how it sounds, but you know what I mean? Like the old Wu shit. Like it has this kind of thing where their vocals like cut through. And that's cool to me. Like where it's like these vocals just slice through the mix and they're like real upfront, super hard compression. You know what I mean? I mean, you can overdo it, obviously, but like,
for sure,
it was a big thing for me. That's like what inspired the way I mix.
What annoyed me was that it didn't feel like so much that people were trusting their own ears, the engineers and producers, because they were educated within the sphere of audio engineering. It felt like, well, as long as they play by the book, that's like the best that they can achieve. So when I would make comments like, I don't think that sounds as good, or they're like, it objectively is, you know, because this is how you're supposed to do it. And it felt like, oh, it's set in stone how you're supposed to mix vocals on these types of things. It just felt like they were checking off like bullet points or something, rather than, let me see, how do I, and I've always been a person that goes by ear. When I was first learning how to mix stuff, I mean, I've been rapping forever. And then I've started digitally recording, and at first I wasn't even compressing my vocals at all. You know, when I was 14.
Yeah, me neither.
And MySpace was the rage. I didn't know what I just thought you hit record, and then you hit export. That's it. But when I finally started kind of paying attention to the fact that, hey, I have a decent mic, but I'm not achieving like the best sound, I started looking up YouTube videos. Back then, there were only like 2 or 3 YouTube videos that talked about how to mix rap vocals. So it wasn't particularly helpful for me at the time. So then I started like looking through, just Googling it, finding different forums and threads where people said, oh, if you're trying to compress rap vocals, try this, you know, and just kind of copying that, but that didn't necessarily work for me either. So what helped is kind of a combination of doing all that research, playing around with what people were saying, and also trial and error on my side, kind of pushing all the buttons and turning all the knobs until shit started sounding right to me. And I think this is why I still am. I mean, I do have my routines. I have my own effects racks that I've now created and saved. So what an effects rack is, for the uninitiated, is sort of like a preset of effects, you know? So I may have like my go-to equalizer, my go-to compression, my go-to reverb for the various types of like sounds I'm trying to achieve, or the various types of beats that I rap over. And these I have developed by kind of sitting down, knowing what kind of works well with my voice at this point, and then just tweaking things until it sounds just right. And that's how I make music to this day. And so for that reason, I remember I had a strong dislike, and it's specifically Sony. I've had multiple run-ins with Sony engineers, and I'm not shitting on all Sony engineers and producers. I can't put everybody in a box. Just in my experience, a lot of people just didn't seem to trust their own ears at all, or didn't even really have an ear for it. And so that was kind of really weird. But it was an eye-opening thing, and made me feel like, oh, I'm not doing this wrong, because the people who claim to be doing it right are not doing it in a way that I like it. So I'm okay.
I agree with what you said. Yeah, I don't know. I think that like that mixing is an art. Like there's so much in the mix.
Absolutely.
To me, like I think a lot of times the textures, the like literally like, I feel like I'm not even like, sometimes I feel like I'm not that good of a producer, and I'm better at just like taking something that is like all right and making it sound really pretty. or like, to me, it makes it sound like I'm really big for like textures. Like I love ASMR. I love like
Same.
hearing stuff that makes
Love
like
textures.
tingles in my body, you know? And I think like that's what I focus on, especially like my percussion and like the way I like it, like everything, it all comes down to that mix. Like if it's not mixed a certain way, it won't hit right. And it's like, that's almost more important than the content to me. But it's not even that. It like bleeds into the content, you know?
Yeah. It's
And I
one
think-
part of like a bigger whole, you know?
All the things that people told me not to do when I was in school ended up being very beneficial to me, because my whole thing was I learned to mix clean and then deconstructed that. That was like my idea, because like
Yeah.
you can listen to like some of my like really old like beat mixes and stuff from like the SoundClick days, and it's like kind of like I was trying to go for like that industry standard super clean sound, polished sound, and to me now, like that's boring. Like the idea of like just doing that over and over. And so like from that point on, it was just like a gradual deconstruction to where like now I'll make stuff that like I'm not saying that I don't know how to do clean mixes anymore, but it's just like I'm not interested in doing them anymore. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to do that type of music.
Yeah, it ties in with what we've said about rapping in our many earlier episodes, where we say, and I think this is true for art in general. I think Ross has agreed with that this is also applied in, you know, visual art and animation. Before you try to go for a very specific style or develop a style, mastering the basics really helps, because once you have a grasp of the basics and you know how to do various things, then you can start trying to discover what it is that is right for you. And with mixing, it's the same thing. You know, if you eventually figure out how a compressor works, and you figure out how EQing works and all these other things, and how to make something sound clean, then you'll know how to stylize it in a way that maybe would sound best to you. So I think that's very true for me too, Bill.
I agree. I agree with what you said. You and me, we are in agreement. You and me. Dude, do you want to go get some ice cream?
No, but actually, speaking of food, you received something in your P.O. P.O. box. It's supposed to be technically our P.O. box, but not really. It's
Well, I mean,
yours.
it's our P.O. box. It's just like,
It's in the description.
I get the things and then you don't, you know?
Yeah, actually, in all of our YouTube videos, I think it's in the description, or the P.O. box.
Yeah, send us legal things.
And Bill sometimes has seen fan mail and stuff like that, and he shares that with me. I like to think most of the time.
Yeah, no, pretty much every fan mail thing that we've gotten, I've showed you, and I posted most of it. Like they've had some people will send like someone sent Yu-Gi-Oh cards and like a nice letter for like all of us. Like,
Aw.
like other people have sent just like fan mail. Some people sent art. Like shout out Mantis. Like Mantis sent us a whole bunch of art, like folders and folders of art. I posted all that.
That's awesome.
And
thank you, Mantis.
like I love stuff like that. Yeah, like I really do like it. But this one was okay. It kind of took me through a loop, because I was checking the P.O. box and I saw there's a whole bunch of junk mail in there, and I was just like, you know, we don't get like a lot of fan mail in there, so I was just kind of like, okay, I'll check it. You know, I hadn't checked it in a little while. I opened it up, and there was junk mail, and I was like all bummed out. I was like, oh, no one didn't send anything. And then I saw there was a key, and I was like, oh shit, someone sent a package. So I went and like opened up the other box, and I saw it was a big package. I was like, oh shit. And I pick it up and it's heavy, and I'm like, oh fuck. But there's like no like return to sender address or anything.
Spooky. So yeah, you got worried because there was no return to sender and it was heavy, right? So it's just kind of like, oh, what is this? Is it?
I didn't know what to expect. You know,
weapons of mass destruction.
Yeah, is
someone's severed head?
Is it what's in the box? You know. And so I get in the car. I come back home, and I'm like real nervous to open it. I open it up, and it's like packaged with. It's like a package in a package in a package. You know. So I open it up, and there's like almost like a bubble mailer inside of this box, and I opened that up, and then it had bubble wrap. And I was like, as I was shaking it, I noticed it was liquid, and I was just like, interesting. Don't know where this is going, you know? So I open it up, and it's a bunch of Orangina. Like, it's like a package of Orangina drinks, like, which is like a fizzy,
Fanta-like drink.
yeah, it's like Fanta, but it has real juice in it and pulp, you know? And I remember vaguely someone saying something about that in one of our Discord chats, saying like, I'm gonna send you something. And I think it was a drink. So I think it was that person, but they didn't like put a note or anything. It was just the drinks. And I was actually like kind of nervous to drink them at first, but they were sealed. And so I opened them up and it was delicious. You can't get them here. Like, I've never seen them. And I really did enjoy it a lot. And like, I drank them when I was sick because I was like feeling bad. And I was like, oh, this is nice. It's a sugary drink. It's got vitamin C in it. You know, I enjoyed them quite a lot. So shout out whoever sent the Orangina drinks. It was beautiful.
Thank you.
It makes me feel good on the inside and out.
Absolutely. We appreciate you.
I kiss you. Right on the leg. Right on the knee. Get a little knee kiss. Just smooching right on the shin. Just a little shin smooch. Placing my lips upon thine ankle. Lest
I quit.